Me say we just get the remedy for the pagan them. Me just get the remedy for bad mind and jealousy. Who want to see me dead? Me just get the remedy, Suck TV. Jam me say. You don't know what Javinche you watching Suck TV. Lord, is it straight triple dose.
Welcome to SAT TV News. I'm Shanna Esprit, your presenter. Among the major developments, Dominica blacklisted by government of France, U.S. Vice President in Trinidad for trade and energy talks, Russian arms to deter foreign intervention in Syria, and in sports, Dive Dominica Harlem United suffers defeat in National League of Dominica Football Association. Details of these will follow. Welcome back. It is the view of Chief Executive Officer of the Dominica Air and Seaport Authority, Mr. Benoit Badwill, that tourism is everybody's business and we all need to continue playing our part as there is much to benefit from this industry.
When one considers the revenue earned from tourism really earns the largest share of revenue for Dominica. Somewhere in the region of $300 million is earned through tourism. 50 million towards cruise and another $250 million for stayover. And so it is in fact the most important segment of the economy as it relates to generating revenue. And it the Dominican economy. We have the fishermen who put the food on the table. We have the farmers, irrespective of which area in farming you are. They contribute in terms of the tourism dollar. So you find that even in industry, you have the manufacturers, for example, that produce. So you have several stratas of the society that's involved in relation to the aspect of tourism.
Mr. Badwill says tourism touches every level in the economy and all persons involved in the industry must play their part, including the police for security, vendors and taxi operators for tours. The road infrastructure, he says, especially traveling to and from tourist sites, must be addressed. The Chief Executive Officer noted, in order to make a significant difference in the industry, it is important that we always provide excellent service to visitors.
And anything that happens in tourism, the message, be it positive or negative, have far-reaching effects, and especially so if it is negative. So one of the things that we try to do is to have our persons understand clearly the message that tourism is everybody's business, in that anything that you will be doing in relation to our visitors, we would want persons to do it to the best of their ability. We want persons to come to Dominica and feel that they have gotten a service second to none. And that is where we're striving for. For example, the customs officer, the immigration officer, just by the first persons that come into contact with that visitor, any impressions gotten there can ruin a holiday. Bad impressions. And so we would like to make sure that every person that have to interact with the tourists on arrival, while they're on island, on departure, the security, the port security, for example, or the airport security, they have to try to ensure that they can give a service that's of a standard that is of international class.
He says although a lot more needs to be done to further benefit from tourism, there are many training programs designed to improve the standard of service in Dominica. The target is to provide a world-class service.
We're working very closely with the police, I must say, and I would like to take the opportunity here to say hats off to the police or the Commonwealth of Dominica Police Force for the kind of support being provided to tourism. There is a tourism unit, and it is small. They may not be as equipped as they should be, but I think a number of the officers there are very dedicated to the work that they're doing. And there is also a support arm, which is a task force that provides additional support. So that's why I will say, without a shadow of a doubt, that a remarkable amount of work is being done by the police. And some of these things may go unnoticed in terms of the solving of crimes in relation to what happens in the country, and it doesn't take time. And so we want to know that we can continue to help and to train, if possible, the police in terms of dealing with tourist matters.
The Discover Dominica Authority will continue to work towards improving our tourism product, with its main focus on transforming the town of Roseau to be the premier city of the Caribbean. In addressing the issue of access to Dominica, the Chief Executive Officer of the Dominica Air and Seaport Authority said they are still pursuing business investors to assist in the development of the Canefield Airport. He said they are also working on acquiring increased flights to the Canefield and Melville Airport, which is very important.
One of the things that, in terms of looking at it from a medium to long term, is long-range flights from the US in terms of Fort Lauderdale or Miami. Some improvements into the existing Melville Airport to be able to accommodate that is some things that we have to work on. But constantly there is work being done, and once we are satisfied that there is enough information to provide further information to the general public, we will. But as I would constantly say, we have to continue to grow the product. And as we grow the product and we outstrip the facilities, then there will be greater need for larger facilities to be able to do that. And so we have to be very cautious in terms of the cost of the capital infrastructure that we put in.
An effective hub system, Mr. Badwill says, is needed to create an easy transfer system for passengers to travel to other regional countries. And in other stories, approximately 7 days after being hospitalized, Albert Bethel, better known as Psycho, passed away on Saturday, May 25th at the Princess Margaret Hospital. According to Police Public Relations Officer Inspector John Carbon, Mr. Bethel was found in the Botanical Gardens on Saturday, May 18th at about 11 p.m. with a gunshot wound to his head. He was transported to the Princess Margaret Hospital Accident and Emergency Department, where he was treated. He was then admitted to the intensive care unit. Mr. Carbon is issuing an appeal to the public to assist the police in finding the shooter. Anyone with information about this incident is asked to contact the nearest police station or call 1-800-4468 or 1-800-8477. And in other stories, many persons may not live to witness their 100th birthday. However, this was not the case for one lucky resident of Kulibistri. Mrs. Lucette Darlene Larocque, better known as Darlene, celebrated her 100th birthday on Monday, May 27, 2013. Take a listen to the profile of Mrs. Larocque, read by Mrs. Marvelyn Joseph.
On the 27th of May, 1913, proud parents, Mr. and Mrs. Freddy Loader of Kulibistri, warmly and joyfully welcomed their daughter, Lucette Loader, in their family. She then became the 6th child. At 100 years, she now remains the only surviving sibling of 5 brothers and 6 sisters. Growing up, she was cheerful, charming, fun to be around, and still is, hardworking, love her family and people, especially children.
Mrs. Larocque earned the nickname Darlene because of her personality. Although she migrated to Guadeloupe for a few years for working purposes, she lived most of her life in the community of Coulibistry. Mrs. Larocque married Mr. Peter Larocque, of whom she remained faithful up to the time of his death. The two produced one child who currently lives in the United States.
This 100 years has been marked with good times, memorable occasions, difficulties, and sad moments also. However, Auntie Darlene, having loved life, being a strong individual and a fighter, has triumphed over adverse circumstances and many challenges. And this is why we can really celebrate with her today. Having posted Auntie's photo on one of the social networks, lots of individuals were quite surprised, yet delighted to know that she is still alive.
Effective Tuesday, May 28th, Mrs. Larocque will enjoy the benefits the government affords centenarians. This includes $500 monthly, a gas stove, and free liquid petroleum gas.
We give full credit to Mrs. Larocque for taking care of herself, for eating well, for living life to the full to this age. But of course, we must never forget the persons who are tasked with caring for her, because the latter part of one's life is not only what they do for themselves, but how well the persons who are charged with caring for them dispense that responsibility in keeping them alive, in feeding them on time, in ensuring that they are not stressed out, in meeting their needs on a 24-hour basis. So on behalf of the Ministry of Social Services, I would like us to again put our hands together for the gentleman, Mr. who has been doing such a wonderful job. On behalf of the Ministry of Social Services and Community Development, I'm pleased to present this basket. It's going to the right person, the one who has been charged with caring for Mrs. Larocque for all these years. On behalf of the Ministry, congratulations. I also present this card, and I think that God will bless you as you perform your duties in caring for Miss Larocque.
His Excellency the President Eliud T. Williams, who was also at the celebration, extended congratulations on behalf of himself, family, and Dominica to Mrs. Larocque on celebration of her 100th birthday. The community of Coulibistry is now home to 3 centenarians, with Mrs. Larocque being the latest addition. In more stories, 17 countries, including Dominica, have been blacklisted by France after failing to be cooperative in investigation foreign aid fraud. According to a report in Agence France Presse, on Monday, French bureaucrats said that Dominican banks and banks from other blacklisted countries will be banned from distributing development funds. France defends these actions by stating that there is a lack of transparency in Dominica and other nations on that list. They are of the view that the main victims of fraud are the poor and the developing nations. The blacklist has already increased, registering 8 non-cooperative states and territories, namely Botswana, Brunei, Nauru, Guatemala, and the Philippines. Switzerland, Lebanon, Panama, Costa Rica, the United Arab Emirates, Dominica, Liberia, Trinidad and Tobago, and Vanuatu were added to the list on Monday. The purpose of this exposure by French officials is to place pressure on the countries to be more transparent. They said, and I quote, "The aim is primarily preventative, to put pressure on these countries by publicizing this list to progress towards more transparency." Pascal Canfin, aides to development minister, did not disclose the amount of French foreign aid currently transits via banks in Dominica or any of the countries featured on the new blacklist. The Nature Island Environmental Trust is a newly formed non-profit organization aimed at addressing ways of maintaining Dominica's pristine environment. According to the organization, the effective use of the Waiti-Kubuli National Trail is an essential part of protecting Dominica's forest. It provides opportunities to gain foreign exchange while using the forest in a sustainable approach. Mr. Clement Rabes, one of the organizers of the Waitikubuli Trail Cross, gives more insight into the event.
Trail racing is one of the up-and-coming sports. It's rather big in North America and Europe, and it stems from the idea of people jogging, and I guess people always want more. So people want to do more distances, so they've done marathons and marathons. Some people have done almost 20 marathons in their lifetimes, more than that. So people want more. So they're going into ultra marathons now. The ultra marathons are the distance bigger than a marathon. And generally speaking, it's difficult to do that on the streets as marathons are. So people go into the woods, into the forest, onto the trails. Now in Dominica we have lots of trails. We have this new trail we just opened, the Waitikubuli National Trail, which is 115 miles long. So it's ideal for the ultramarathoners.
Mr. Rabes said that Dominicans should get ready to take on the challenge of supporting trail crosses. The plan, he said, is to establish this type of event in Dominica as it is becoming a popular sport worldwide.
Well, the objective is ultimately the trail has to sustain itself. The trail was put in place when Bernard thought of the trail. I guess he was thinking of Dominica as a whole, you know. And the trail has to sustain itself. It has to sustain the people. That's why we put it in place. So one of our objectives is that through these events, not only this event, but through events on the trail, people can make a living, sustain themselves, and also to sustain the environment. That's a key element of it, you know, because the trail is kept in good condition, the environment is kept in good condition, people can make a living from it. So that's one of the objectives.
The objectives also include Dominicans becoming more conscious of fitness, health, and athletics, specifically as there is a rising issue of non-communicable disease affecting Dominicans.
For this inaugural event, it's an open event. Gender, not an issue. Age, not an issue. Anybody who think they want to come in and just help out, participate, just say they've done it in the first one, can come and do it. Ultimately though, as we get better organized, we'll have to have some kind of categories, probably on the 40 range group, over 50 range group. But again, this is all stuff that's pretty cookbook, because the standards are set out there, and if we're trying to compete with the other trail races, we have something to look at.
The race coordinator is urging all Dominicans to register for this event. Team registration costs only $50 with 2 men per team. Prizes will be awarded to the winners and runners-up of the event. Mr. Rabes explains further.
We're offering prize monies. For the first team, we'll offer $300. That is the team whose 2 members, the average time, which is the time of the first member, the second member added together, divided by 2. The team with the lowest travel time will get $300. The next place team will be $200, and the individual who has done the best time in the entire race will get $200. So it's a total of $700 that we're offering as prize monies this time.
All are urged to turn out on Saturday at Trafalgar Falls for the first ever trail cross race. Interested persons can contact Mr. Clement Rabes at telephone number 615-2605 or Mrs. Betty Perry-Fingal at 449-0859. And the final story for the evening, using revenue generated from the house taxes collected by the Roseau City Council, Mayor of Roseau, His Worship Cecil Joseph, says the council has begun work on improving the sidewalks in the city. He said the council has always made the promise to the people that once they receive revenue from them, a percentage from that revenue will go towards assisting in the development of the city. The sidewalk will be made from concrete slabs, which will begin at the Canefield bus stop. This is just another project by the council to improve the image of the city.
And we felt that we should start on the river side area because there's a bus terminal, and we need the users of that terminal to have a better platform, and that less people can complain about our activities and service for the city. We have since then decided to do that, and we're hoping to work with other business houses in the area to partner with us to see how best suitable that we can do those projects.
He did not give a duration period for the project, as he said there are a number of factors that could possibly halt and restart the works, including finance and/or other important projects. The mayor says persons living in the areas where the sidewalks are being constructed will be asked for contribution to assist in purchasing material for the project. Persons or business organizations wishing to assist, whether in cash or material donations for this initiative, can call the Roseau City Council on telephone number 448-2973.
A few years ago that we spent over $100,000 in doing rehabilitation of sidewalks and some drains. So it's another second phase. We see how long the second phase took. We are hoping that from generating revenue from the collection of our rates, that we can get enough money to assist us, and two, that if we can get some business houses to come on board first, we'll be happy and free. If we can get residents who would be able to give us materials and maybe some kind contribution, that we would see the project moving faster.
This is what he had to say when asked how this project would benefit the city.
It's going to enhance the city of Roseau. It's going to make the city of Roseau more competitive when you look at other cities in the Caribbean. We have sidewalks that are very old and need rehabilitation. We have sidewalks that are over 50 years of age. And now we have seen so many heavy vehicles or little offense onto the sidewalks, destroying the sidewalks. We are hoping that by rehabilitating them, that we can see a new city, we can see a different city.
Well, you just mentioned heavy vehicles parking on the sidewalks, destroying them. What measures will be taken so this does not reoccur with the new sidewalks?
Well, personally, what we have to do is to enforce. We will hope that we can get the support of the police as we have been getting in the past. So we need to enforce. Two, I believe too that the users, the drivers, have to be cognizant of the fact that the sidewalk is for pedestrians.
If the drivers have pride for their city, he added, they will not use the sidewalks to park their vehicles and exceed its weight limit, thus damaging it. The first phase of the project will cost an estimated $16,000. However, the mayor did not give an estimate on the total cost of the project. This has been the local segment of the news. Coming up next, regional highlights.
Have you ever wanted to order on the internet but don't own a credit card, or you're just fed up of the high prices of items locally? Well, the solution is Kemet's Online Services. Kemet's Online Services. Order a wide variety of items and get your items in as quick as 5 to 10 days. For placing orders or for more information, call 614-9550. The sky's the limit with Kemet's Online Services.